Hello? Hello? Madam, am I audible? Hello?
Yeah, you're audible, sir.
Okay, madam. Sorry for the delay. I was actually well connected, but since the time has been extended, so I just had lost that connectivity here. Some problem. Suddenly, my laptop developed a problem. So, shall I begin the session, madam?
Yeah, 1 second, sir.
Yeah.
Yeah. Shall we start, sir? Hello. Hello, sir.
Yes,
Hello,
madam.
Anil.
Yeah,
Yes,
yeah.
yes, ma'am. Hello, ma'am.
How are you?
Fine, madam. Good to hear you, see you after long time.
Yeah, after a long time.
Busy days, busy days.
I've been waiting to hear you.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you.
Okay, sir. Shall we
Actually,
start?
yes, ma'am.
Request all the audience to please mute yourself. Yeah, is my screen is visible, sir?
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you. Yeah, welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. It's great that all the participants came back with the same exhilarated energy. Hope all the participants have gained commodious knowledge on the topic Curiosity at Workplace, delivered by Dr. Lata Christie, Senior Scientist, DRDO, Bangalore. Etiquettes at workplace are important as it creates a professional, mutually respectful atmosphere and improves communication, which helps an employee to serve and to be more productive and feel respected. So today, our resource person, Dr. Anil Premraj, Assistant Professor, Senior Grade 1, Department of English, School of Social Sciences and Languages, Vellore Institute of Technology, Vellore, will guide us on how the etiquettes and manners are essential elements in any workplace. But before delving straight to the topic, let me give a brief introduction about our resource person. Dr. Anil Premraj, sir, currently working as an assistant professor, senior grade, Department of English, Social Sciences and Languages, Vellore Institute of Technology, Vellore. He did his PhD in the area of English literature from Sri Venkateswara University, Tirupati. His research areas are modern English literature, English for academic purposes, English for engineers, and English for communication. screen is visible?
Yes, yes, ma'am.
Thank you. He has more than 27 years of exemplary teaching experience at various levels, such as assistant professor, guest faculty, and so on, in renowned universities and institutions like University of Misurata, Libya, Guangdong University, China, Sri Padmavati Mahila Vishwavidyalayam, Emeralds College, Sri Vidyaniketan Educational Institutions, SV Engineering College, and so on. He organized and participated many workshops, seminars, faculty development programs such as 9th International Conference on English Grammar at Vid University, exploration of new techniques in English language teaching with emphasis on presentation skills, 2-day international conference on English language developing employability skills of college graduates at Vid University. 2-day international conference on pluralism and multiculturalism in teaching and research of English languages and literature. So I welcome, sir. We are pleasure to listen your words on the topic procedural punctilio and decorous demeanor, that is etiquettes and manners at workplace.
Thank you,
I
ma'am.
hand it over to you, sir. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Uh, First of all, I express my regrets for joining a bit late because of my laptop collapsed suddenly. I don't know. I lost that connectivity, so I had to borrow my wife's laptop and reconnect. So I am happy to be part of this program being organized by SVEC, and I'm I'm glad that SVEC is taking such a great initiation in bringing in people from different areas of specialization to be able to share their knowledge and equip ourselves with the new knowledge that is existing within our areas and around our areas and internationally as well. So this kind of program or these kinds of programs will enable us to grasp and evolve ourselves to be better teachers, better students, and hopefully I'm glad that many of my friends are part of this particular program, and even I hope that some of my students also have joined, my scholars have joined such programs that would help them to grow, become future teachers, good teachers as well. So the topic given to me here is manners and etiquette. This is a very, very, very vast area to be talked about within a short time. And today, when we look at the world around us, we find many things. We find, as you look at the slide here, we find etiquettes, we find morals, we find ethics, we find principles, we look for truth, we look for fairness, we look for conduct, we look for something that helps us to be a better person.
Sir, excuse me.
Yes, ma'am.
Sir, I couldn't able to see your presentation, sir. Could you please pin that one when we make a host to you?
Yeah. What should I do?
When I make a host, when I make a host, you please pin your presentation, sir.
Now is it visible, madam?
No, no, sir. Not able to see you and as well as the presentation also.
I closed video because since I'm sharing the screen, it's fiddle. Now, madam,
No, sir. We are able to see you.
okay. Now I close. Screen
But
sharing
you're
has
not
failed
there.
to start. Please try again later. Some error is happening. Try to share it.
No.
Send it, madam. You receive it, madam? Hello?
Sir, please 2 minutes.
Yes, ma'am. Okay, okay.
Yeah, I'm sharing the screen, sir.
ஒரு சாரி
Okay.
ஆர்டர் பண்ணியிருக்கேன் பார்ப்போம். இது பாத்தீங்களா மேம் நீங்க பிக் பாஸ் அர்ச்சனா எவிக்ட்?
Yes, ma'am.
Now, are you able to see the screen, sir?
Yeah, it's visible.
Yeah. Yeah, yes, sir.
Yeah. Sorry for the interruption again. So, as you can see, that the places that we live in, we are surrounded by a lot of expectations. We look for values in others. We look for honesty from others. We show certain morals. We try to work for some kind of fairness, and we try to look at the integrity of the people. And at the same time, we try to point out at the people, saying that they are not trustworthy, they don't have such virtuous nature, they are not truthful, they are not respectable, they don't have any integrity or honesty. So it is evident that everywhere around us that we live in, these both exist, both sides of these characteristics exist, be it in the academic realm, be it in some other professionals, or be it in the same student community as well. Especially in today's world, that is, we talk about the world of today with people who are with what we call the Z generation. So the X generation has passed or is passing on, or the Y generation is growing, and now we are into the Z generation or Z generation, we say it, that people, as the generations are passing by, there we tend to find deterioration or declining of these qualities or these abilities or these characteristics in the human nature. So to live in this kind of situation, or to live in this kind of state of life where the societies are divided, the communities are divided, the professions are divided in such a way that they try to point out at others rather than trying to realize that the four fingers are being projected towards us to look into such things. So, can you change the slide, please?
ఏదో పెండింగ్ అన్నారు.
Madam, can you change the slide, please? Hello?
Sir? Hello, sir?
Hello?
Yeah, yes, sir. Sir? Sir, you have to mute
Yeah,
unmute yourself,
I
sir.
did now.
Yeah. Yeah.
Thank you. So, as we are focusing on the manners and etiquettes, maybe till 1960s, so people addressed this as problems of behavior. We know that existed beyond that 60s period. We know that most of the countries around the world were under the colonial or even under the rule of the monarchical system that existed. So we even with a little democratic values or with little democratic system of functioning in some countries like England or UK, we can say that people had this kind of a distinction. Could you please mute all other mics? People had that kind of a distinction about the societies that they had, the lower classes or people from the lower classes who are trying to go above, or they are becoming as social climbers because we can call them as. So they have started going up to their, from lower levels to their higher or middle class levels, we can say that they were trying to project themselves into maybe the ascending order in the societies. So till that time, so the focus was on their manners. So maybe how they behave with the educated. That's why we know that we in England we are known to people addressing as ladies and gentlemen. So what does that mean? The class distinction that existed in the country where people who were rather highly educated, had that kind of aristocratic background, had that kind of a life that had showed them that pomp in their societies, whereas the lower classes did had, and those who among the lower classes who tried to climb over. So those problems that they had in their behavior, their manners towards the ladies and gentlemen, is something that was looked at before the 60s, we can call them. But later on, after 60s, what happens? We know that important part, the culture has become rather more important in every nook and corner of the world. So every country, every region had developed their own cultures, and along with the culture, their manners changed. They had their own manners. They had their own ideals of the cultures that are to be looked into. So these regimes of manners mirrors and reinforces the distribution of power, status, and respect among the society. So the governments or the regimes who looked, or the societies that looked towards the higher ups or the higher societies or the aristocratic societies, they had that kind of an attitude that the manners mirrors and reinforces the distribution of power and status and the respect in the society of the individuals. So there was this kind of a transition from the 18th century that earlier they had that kind of a courtesy genre too. When we come to the mid 19th century or so, it has become an etiquette genre where the people have started looking to the the way that one needed to present themselves with a set of guidelines or rules or regulations that help them to rather become presentable to the others. So this process has taken place during the formalization went to its peak during the Victorian era. That's why we always talk about how this Victorian period, we have Jane Austen's works where these societies, how they're reflected, the middle class or the upper class, the aristocratic sector. All these things are looked into. Later on, what happened, this kind of a thing has molded into ritualistic self-control. The later part of 19th century, we can call them. So individuals under that kind of a ritualistic self-control started to look at this etiquette genre as some kind of a rule combination of various attitudes of a person towards the outlook of others. Further days, the authoritative conscience has developed. That's why when we think about, especially when we, from the background of the literature, when we talk about, we are always mindful about how A.G. Gardner, so a famous writer, one of his writings, he talks about Chowdhury and so on. These people, they reflect about how these things have thrown upon the people's minds. And I am reminded about a famous text called Indian Crowds, where Gardner talks about the second nature of humanity, where when we, by nature, we have certain things that we indulge in. We get up or we eat. When there is hunger, we eat. When there is thirst, we drink. When there is that kind of sleeplessness that is wanted by the body, or tiresomeness, fatigue, we rest. So all these things happen as a natural, first nature. But certain things, getting up at certain time, especially when we talk about examination things, how students get prepared for their examinations. They get up, they keep an alarm, or maybe some habits like hand gestures. All these things matter about the presentability, the outlook that we are trying to present to the minds of others. So all these things have now moved from the second generation to the third nature, second nature to the third nature, where it is rather reflexive and self-regulatory, and today we can also say that it is obliging to the authority, obliging to the society, obliging to the nature. That's why it is necessary, but at any age or at any point of time, for the people to acquaint themselves with that word etiquette, or we can simply say that the principles of life that would help them to maintain a decency or decorum, or we can say that the behavior that would rather make people, make the society, or make the individual work well. So in other words, we can say that the etiquette may reflect one's ethical code or one's values in the societies. We know that values in the societies change, or values in the societies are directly or indirectly related to the culture that the society will, or the people belong to that particular society. So culture, values determine one's social well-being, that would determine one's personality or one's expression. So today when we talk about etiquette, so it has to deal with one's personality, one's expression with many facets, because we live in a world where people are tech savvy. As I told you, we live in the society, or we live in a world where the Z generation has come up. When we look at our children, our children's children, what is happening? Look how they are tech savvy. Even a small kid is now able to operate a laptop or a mobile phone or a smartphone. They are able to communicate very easily. Maybe we feel as a X generation or Y generation people, we might feel that, okay, we are not, it makes us rather tiresome to do, or we are not that tech savvy to do certain things. But as we look at the children of the present generation, and especially during these COVID times, how many of the children are able to easily attend these online classes? They feel rather very comfortable to operate these technical gadgets, whereas we find that at times like this, when there are some technical snags, it makes us rather a bit difficult to address the problem immediately when we compare to this generations. So that's why etiquettes play an important role, or etiquettes have that kind of a linking towards the social well-being, or linking towards one's personality, and finding an expression in one's personality which is now available or almost focuses on all facts of life. So as I told you earlier, etiquette would reflect one's ethical codes. So in other words, they are not, we can say that they are not a set of legal rules that are available, but they can be defined as a set of governing rules that would determine one's social behavior. And when we focus on one's social behavior, automatically they would reflect on, or they would help in reflecting on one's professional functioning. When we talk about a person's etiquettes and manners, so how well is one good mannered? What is good mannered? So how you behave, how you speak, how you write, how you talk, how you present yourself before others. In other sense, we say how you make others comfortable. So following etiquettes or following this set of principles or rules that govern, though they are not legally bound rules, but still we can say that they are principles that are to be followed that would help in not only making ourselves, those who are setting those etiquettes or keeping those, following those etiquettes, comfortable. You are, by following it, we are making others to become rather comfortable. So how comfortable we are making others' position in the society reflect directly upon the individual who is able to do so. That's why Walter Benjamin says that he who observes etiquette but objects to lying is like someone who dresses fashionably but wears no vest. That is what Walter Benjamin says about why we need etiquette. So it is like a fashion which reflects one's civility or one's civil sense. In one way, as I told you, the ethical code. That means the values that one has. And in another way, we can say that it is the ethical code, and also it is about the way that one has that kind of a civility towards others or towards oneself. That is very important. That is why we need to learn, or we need to imbibe in others the etiquettes, the demands. In one way, when we talk about the values, when we focus about the ethical codes, we ought to be remindful, or we ought to be mindful that when we talk about these etiquettes, we are trying to look at one's temperament. It's not only the values, it's not only the codes that matter, but it is one's temperament. How is one's temperament is being presentable at a situation, because we are going to talk about later on the workplace etiquettes. How are we able to maintain the temperament? Because as I told you in the first slide itself, it is evident that we live in a society, or we live at a workplace, or we live in professions where we are forced to experience, we are juxtaposed against these two, whether it's values or morals or whatever may be that we talked about. So it is a challenge for every individual when it comes to that particular situation. Are we able to express such kind of a temperament that would not only make you comfortable, make the individual comfortable, but make others in that particular society or in that particular surroundings feel comfortable about you. So when we talk about etiquette, we must be mindful that it is minding our manners or one's manners inwardly, and outwardly we also bound to show. So it is rather two ways. Inwardly, how well we are going to be presentable to others. That is one phase of personality that you are projecting, and how outwardly our actions are going to be looked at, and are they acceptable to that, maybe that bosses or that societies, that is to be rather, or that is to be rather introspective. That's what I said. We have come to the state where the third nature, which is rather reflective. Okay, before I talk about others, before I point out my finger at others that you are not true, you are not reliable, you are not good at, you don't have values in life, you don't have such kind of a personality to forgive, forget, all these things when we talk about. So before we point out at others, so how we have to have that kind of an introspection. So reflective nature should come. So how true I am to that particular situation? Am I truthful? Am I honest? Am I be able to express myself or how? Okay. So that is why self-reflect, when we introspect ourselves, it will help us to realization should come. So self-regulatory. So when we realize where we are lagging behind, or are we deviating from the goodness, or are we deviating, diverting from that kind of a thing, then we need to rather, and we realize we need to oblige to whatever principles that we have set forth or the organization has set forth, whatever maybe when it comes to the workplace. So on the whole, when we are talking about etiquettes, the thing that matters is the survival. How are we able to survive within our workplaces? Can you change the slide? So etiquette, yes ma'am, yes ma'am, yes ma'am. So when we talked about etiquette, as I told you, etiquettes, it deals with code, it deals with one's personalities, values, and so on. So now we can classify these etiquettes into professionals, professional etiquettes we have, social etiquettes we have, business etiquettes we have, office etiquettes we have, service etiquettes we have, and when it comes to persons and even restaurants eating etiquettes we have. So in everywhere, these principles, rules, which are rather invisible, as I told, they are not legally bound, but they are imbibed by the culture, by the society, or by the organizations that have set forth to make ourselves rather feel comfortable, survive, and that's why there's a saying, live and let live. So we have to learn to live and let live others also in the same comfort zone that we expect others to treat us, that we hope others will treat us. And of course, even all faiths also convey the same type of thing, equality, loving thy neighbor as thyself, which is a really a challenging thing in the present generation or in the present society, where we are to be divided by whatever the reasons, whatever maybe that's a different area to be discussed. So on the whole, we are now focusing about etiquettes that are to be used at workplace. Can you change the slide, please?
हाँ छाप को देखते हैं
Next slide. Yeah. So, yeah. Ralph Waldo Emerson, American writer, he points out that life is not so short, but there is always time for courtesy. So, to maintain etiquettes, first of all, we need to learn that the social etiquettes are very important. So, how well we how well we are going to survive in the society. Society doesn't belong to somewhere, it belongs to us. It is around us, within us. So, though we say that our life is short, but that there is always time for courtesy. So today's world, this is a great demand that we are find at. Within the families, we don't find courtesy among the family members being shown. Within the friends, in the name of friendship or in the name of love. That relationships, courtesies are failing. When it comes to academics, the courtesies are failing. And even at professions. So people are in a state where they don't want to oblige, whether you are a student or whether you are a professional, whatever it may be, or even without a professional, people's natures are changing. Maybe when we talk about 18th century to 19th century, 19th to 20, 20 to 21st centuries, so how the trend is slowly dwindling with the values that are becoming lowering. And we expect things to function well at this kind of a rapid state. As I told you, if you look at the picture here, the culture varies. So from one culture to the other cultures, there's a difference between being courteous, showing courtesy. When an Arab comes to a foreign land or a foreigner goes to an Arab land, they have a different way of showing courtesy, welcoming to their courtesy. They hug, they kiss the land, and they. Whereas when you think about these Chinese and Japanese, they bow at each other. When you think about these Westerners, they express a handshake. So culturally, there are differences showing courtesies. And today it is a challenge in a globalized scenario. How we are able to meet these challenges in expressing our courtesy. So if we are not able to express ourselves through courtesy, then we would be a failure in our ways of functioning. We would be a failure in expressing our personality. We would be a failure in showing ourselves that how we need to reflect how we are able to reflect our personality. That is very important. Can you change the slide, please? So when you think about a workplace, whether it's an office or an educational institution, whatever it may be, there are so many things that we need to be mindful to show that we need to maintain that etiquette and manners. So today's world, we live in a society or in a professional realm where it is not the individual that matters, or it is not the individual's talents that is recognized and ultimately appreciated. It is the group work or it is the team work that is looked at. How well as a team you are able to play a role in showing that courtesy or ensuring that the progress is possible in whatever realm of profession that you are talking about. Teamwork matters. However talented individually, the individual efforts, the individual's knowledge, the individual's intellect is secondary. But how well you are able to mingle, cope up, cooperate, consolidate and convey tasks that are assigned, the targets that are to be reached would be considered or recognized in the present scenario. Then when we are talking about this kind of an etiquetted workplace, the second most important thing is about being punctual. How well you are maintaining your timing. Punctuality towards your arrivals, punctuality towards your exits. We know that we live in this world, especially in our part of the world, where it's quite natural to get held up. We either arrive late, we don't come on time. So, attending a particular work at a particular time is very essential, whatever may be the reasons. So, we might say that we have these traffic problems. We are jammed, the traffic because of traffic jam. We are held up. So it is all, we know that the path that we take, or the avenue, the route that we take towards reaching our destination has certain hurdles. If at all there are some hurdles, like traffic jams or some diversions. And today everywhere we find these diversions on these roads because of maybe the floods or because of the rains, whatever may be the reasons of the obstructions that go on. We cannot use these silly causes or reasons to justify for our late coming or early going. So, the first and foremost thing is how well you play a role as a team, and secondly, how punctual. So, people have that kind of a tendency to take it granted that when you are working as a group, okay, let's pass the buck on purpose. So he's there or she's there, why not she take care? When we are working as groups, we know that we are assigned roles. Each individual has a role to perform. So as we perform the roles, there is no chance to pass on the buck on to others. So that kind of an attitude is really not going to help the use or communication, as I told you, communication plays a vital role. We are bound to communicate orally, and we are bound to communicate written through writing or through emails. So when you are in that kind of a work culture, look at the picture here, how awkward the picture resembles. There are three probably office people or business people or colleagues working together, and one of the person is getting a call, she is speaking, and look at her facial expression, how happily she is trying to communicate, whereas others are rather disturbed, distracted. You can see the emotional surge in their eyes. So this is rather a very bad etiquette to follow when you are working in a group. Even when you are working individually, you need to control your calls. One needs to learn to control the calls, whether it's a private or whether it's a private call or whether it is an official call. One needs to learn to control the calls and see that others are not being disturbed like this. Next slide, please. So the today's culture, work culture, I told you, we have come to a globalized scenario where people internationally we are working. We go abroad, work for a couple of months or years, come back, work here or go some other where. So we are now exposed to that kind of an international working culture. So when we are exposed to that kind of an international working culture, you mute other mics, please, madam.
I don't know who are.
Somebody.
Hello.
Somebody's mic is unmuted. I am disturbed. Thank you, madam. So in this globalized scenario, we are now moving from, as I told you, from multiculturalism to the culture where the transfiguration of that cultural aspect is taking place. So we are bound to get exposed to different languages. We are bound to get exposed to different cultures. Unless we are aware of such language backgrounds, cultural backgrounds, and even time zones. We know that we have different time zones. Of course, in India, we have a single time zone. Whereas when you go to America, you have 4 different time zones within a country. Or when it goes to the Western world, you have a different 5 hours plus. That's why GMT we call G plus GMT minus GMT, like that. So the time zones are to be realized. The cultural differences are to be realized. The language differences are to be realized. And the corporate culture is to be realized, because as I told you, that corporate culture is creeping up in every sphere of human life. You cannot say that I don't want this kind of a culture. You cannot ignore anymore, because from school level onwards to the high school level or to the college level or to the professional level, whether it's academic arena or whether it's a business arena or whether it's some other manufacturing arena, everywhere the corporate culture is visible. So we cannot run away from it or we cannot escape from it, and we are bound to learn to work in this culture. So when we are bound to learn to work in this culture, how well we are exposed these areas, how good you are able to have that kind of an exposure to the other languages, cultures, time zones, and accommodate, cooperate, and considerate yourself to be able to fit in. That is what I said in the beginning. So survival is the primary factor that helps us to socialize better, and through better socializing in every sphere of life, how we are able to maintain such manners that make ourselves comfortable and make others comfortable is the challenge of today's world or today's professionals. Next slide, please. Number 11, madam. So, in today's world, yes, madam, same thing. That's next one. Yeah, today, as I told you, we live in this kind of a world where you cannot ignore social media. Our classes are being run with the help of technology. So, the present world is a techno world, and we need to learn to have that kind of an etiquette, techno etiquette. So that we have to become rather techno etiquettes, learn to become techno etiquettes, because we are now using the internet. We are now using WhatsApp groups. We are now using searching the web. We are now downloading a lot of material. We are now mailing, communicating through emails. We are now sharing videos. We are now able to have this kind of virtual conferences or virtual interaction classes. Examinations are being held. Whether we should be thankful to COVID, or whether it has become a rather curse because of the COVID, it's us to decide, or it's us to rather determine. But on the whole, the social media plays an eminent role in today's professional world. What might be the point? You need not be a software professional to use social media. You can be a teacher, you can be a professor, you can be every profession. Even a businessman is bound to use this social media to a greater extent, or to the maximum extent, to become successful in whatever the profession is about. You're uploading, you're downloading, you're sharing. Everything happens with the help of these gadgets and with the help of this internet. It is a big challenge for every professional, how well you are able to maintain that etiquettes in this media, because there's wealth of evil, sea of badness that exists in social media. I don't think I need to label all those things. We are all aware of it. So how judicious we are in utilizing these facilities or tools for the good of one's progress is another question to be introspected. Because we know, or we hear every day, how the rate of cyber crimes are increasing. It need not be students alone. In every profession, we find the cyber thieves growing, or the cyber criminals growing. It is a greater challenge. It is a big etiquette that we need to look into. How are we able to make good of these tools? Because we know in professions, in most of the organizations, it is allowed now. Maybe I don't know about SV Engineering College. When I was there in the first batch as a teacher there, we used to check every classroom and see that the cell phones are taken away, cell phones are confiscated, fined, and so on. I think many of the institutions in this part of the world is happening, but the other part of the world, it is different now. Students are allowed to use these mobiles, and of course now the gadgets are allowed everywhere throughout the world, from nook and corners, from high school or even from pre-primary school to professional levels, it is being allowed. So when that kind of over usage in one way is there, how good we are in utilizing these services and how good we are enabling our viewers or our wards in utilizing these tools for the benefit of acquiring knowledge and growth. It's a big challenge in every profession, because human tendency are, the generations are growing in such a way that they take or they seek such opportunities to dwindle or to play at. Even in professions, we know that people are to use emails, people are to use social media, be it WhatsApp or be it Facebook, or be it the Google tools that we have available, YouTube and so on. So when you are to use them professionally, how professionally you are using or we are using is a question to be introspected, because we are in a professional arena or organization where you are permitted to use, but that kind of a permission or should not be taken for granted. I myself has observed in many cases that people use these gadgets, tools, or these service providers for playing games. Even many professionals are indulging in such things, for looking at unwanted things, unnecessary things. So this is a great challenge for every teacher or every professional in the workplace, the etiquettes to maintain, to see that the social media is utilized according to the need of the day or the need of that particular professional or job requirement. Next slide, please. Since we have started a bit late, maybe I can go for 2 or 3 more minutes or 5 more minutes, madam. So it is just a reminder that etiquettes do not confine to profession itself. Etiquettes are confined to eating as well. We know that we have a set of rules or principles that are to be followed. If you look at the arrangement of the plate here, how the plate is being arranged, how the required spoons to eat meat, the fork to eat meat, the fork to cut, the knife to cut the cake, the knife to cut the meat, the soup, the spoon to take the soup, the spoon to take the meal, all this, how the arrangement. So in every aspect, it's not only for the social, not only for the eating, it's for every. And today we can talk even about how men have certain etiquettes, women have certain etiquettes, young men have certain etiquettes apart from this. So when we talk about etiquettes, there are plenty of things that we are to learn. So as Emerson has already mentioned, though our life is short, we should always find time to learn the etiquettes, learn the courtesies that would make ourselves comfortable and make others comfortable. And when we are, since we are talking about work etiquettes, I have focused on another important aspect where using of an email that most of the professionals fail to use it properly. Can we go on to next slide, please?
Hello, sir.
Yeah, can you enlarge it? Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. So this is an important area where many people don't use the emails properly. Communication is very important in the workplace. So when we are communicating, how well we are able to communicating is an important etiquette, especially when with reference to emails. So we cannot have, as you can see from the slide, that one email should have one topic. People don't use proper communication. So they use one subject and they write something else in the body of the mail. So write the topic of the email in the subject line and confine to that particular topic is very much needed, that many people don't indulge in. Sometimes people don't know to whom they should address the communication. We come across maybe from students, even in many professions, that is where that's happening. People don't know whom to address, and they wrongly address. When you are addressing wrongly, what happens? Your purpose will not serve. I always say that communication, whether it's oral communication or written communication, is made with a predetermined purpose. So we are communicating for some kind of a purpose, but that purpose, if it is not served, then what's the use of you writing that particular or using that particular communication? So it is essential to know or to address properly to whom one is communicating. If you do not know, if the person doesn't know, yes, you are allowed to use to whom it may concern. There's nothing wrong in that. And many emails come without any introduction of the individual who is communicating. So it's a very, very, very bad etiquette. Unless it is a routine process among the organizations, whether it's a business firm or whether it's any other professional organizations that are indulging in frequent communication. It is necessary to say that one introduces oneself properly before the content or the main purpose of that communication is made. And since we are all bound by busy schedules, most of the people ignore the grammar involved in writing the communication, whether it's whether the word is spelled properly, whether the tense is properly being used, the punctuation is properly punctuated. All these things, though are minute, people ignore. So all such ignored things creates negativity on the receiver's end. And an email communication should be as brief, as short as possible. And an email communication should never flare the emotions on the other side or from the other side. So there should be that kind of a balance that has to be maintained. And people think that if it is an important point to be made, one can write in capitals. It is not so. Accordingly, we need to learn to punctuate the sentences so that it would not be disturbed, or the etiquette would not create such kind of a bad impression on our writing. And never address people with shortcuts unless you have that kind of a relationship with the individual. Unless you have that kind of intimacy with the individual, never use shortcuts in emails, especially with reference to names and abbreviations. Another important is replying to the email. The timing of the email is a very essential etiquette. So it's a mandatory that we need to respond to an email or reply to an email within 24 hours of time. And when things don't come to arrive the purpose or fulfill the purpose of communication, it is always better to use the other means of communication, that is oral communication. That is, it is better to call the other side and get things clarified. Even we have certain etiquettes for telephoning, where people go on calling when a person is going on, is not answering. It is rather a rude etiquette to do so. If the call is not answered within 3 rings, we need not call back. We need to wait for some time. Maybe try after some time. Maybe the other side is otherwise engaged and so cannot attend a call. And people have that kind of habit of shouting, oral speaking. When we say, I told you, we need to learn to adjust the pitch of the voice in such a way that even through telephoning, we need to learn to communicate in such a way that we don't keep our mobiles or telephones away from the ear and listen. We often come across people following that because they get that voice in such a high pitched voice that they can't keep their phones near to their ear. So automatically they keep it outside. And another important etiquette that we need to learn to use telephonic communication is that unless we give prior hint or prior permission, get prior permission from the other side, never use a speaker phone to communicate or continue the conversation, which is rather a very bad etiquette nowadays that we find everywhere. People just click on the speaker phone and then talk through the speaker phone, which is a very, 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 very bad etiquette when it comes to a professional etiquette. Next slide, please. So I have here, maybe Madam will share this, some of the do's and don'ts of email etiquette. Since the time is running, I'll skip that. Go on. Yeah, you can share this slide with others, Madam, because I already spoke of all those things.
Okay, sir.
Yeah. Yeah. That's it. So, etiquettes, as I told you, are essential for all of us as professionals, we are now in a world where we are living with that kind of a tech savvy generations are growing. And unless we keep up ourselves with such savvy natured generations, we would lag behind. We will not be able to compete with our competition that exists around us. And we need to learn to become rather good social networking netiquettes so that we would able to make ourselves comfortable, and by making ourselves comfortable, we make others comfortable. Let us all strive hard to live such kind of a life that everybody feels comfortable or everybody is at ease in rendering their services at their professions, at their places, at home, starting from home, as home is the first place for learning. With this, I once again thank Madam Vanishree and the rest of the team who has given me such an opportunity to speak, share my thoughts on this vast subject, which I need to rather, I had limited myself to a very few aspects because of the time frame that we are working on. If Madam, is anything to be shared? Or?
So congrats, Anil. That was a wonderful talk.
Thank you, Usha Madam. Thank you so much. There was some kind of this technology snacks were there here and there. Kindly excuse me for that. My laptop suddenly went dry.
Okay, thank you so much, sir. Your session is full of passion, enthusiastic, and priceless knowledge. The accretions given by you, like how etiquette deals with one's personality, maintaining temperament, and how it reflects different ethical codes, will help us to foster a professional and civilized environment by adapting these etiquette rules at our workplace. Thank you, sir. Thanks a lot.
Thank you, madam. Thank you, one and all. And I wish all the best to the rest of the team for the rest of the days.
Thank you, sir.
Good day, madam. Good day, madam. May I
Ladies
leave?
and gentlemen, you would like to ask any questions? As the time is up, at least if you want, 2 participants or 3 participants can ask.
Hello.
Yes, madam.
Good evening, ma'am. Sir, I have one question.
Tell me, madam.
Yes. Sir, what are the basic differences between courtesy and etiquette?
Courtesy, etiquettes are, I told you, as a set of principles, not legally bound principles, but they are set of rules that we need to follow, which comes under etiquettes.
Yes.
Yeah. Am I clear, madam?
Yeah. Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Share feedback from.
Yeah.
Sir, good evening, sir.
Yeah. Good evening, sir.
Sir, actually, my question is,
Yes, sir.
today the fast-moving world will have a courtesy regarding the existing etiquettes or whatever the etiquettes you explained to us.
Yeah.
Do the present trend will show courtesy towards it? I mean, there is a scope for all these etiquettes to implement right now.
Yeah. We are implementing, but to the extent, to what extent is again to be introspected.
Yes, sir.
As a professionals ourselves, and as teachers ourselves, how we impart to our students, because we tend to spend more time with our students who are younger generations. So how we ourselves are able to follow and impart to our students is a big challenge, as I told you, as generations are going by, where these values and these morals are dwindling as generations are going. It is a big challenge, sir.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Thank you, sir.
Challenge,
Thank
sir.
you, sir. Ladies and gentlemen, feedback form, feedback link is posted in the chat box, and as well as it will be posted in the WhatsApp group. And tomorrow forenoon, we are going to have a session on the topic Engineers Ingenuity, that is creative thinking, by Mr. P. Nagamaleshwar Rao, Department of English, RGUKT, Newsweedu, Krishna District. And in the afternoon session, we are going to have a session on the topic Vibrant Vitality, that is Resilient Skills at Workplace, by Dr. D.R. Pratima Roy, Professor and Head of English Department, St. Joseph's UG and PG College for Women. Once again, I repeat that feedback link is posted in the chat box, and as well as it will be posted in the in the WhatsApp group. And it will be active till 9 p.m. today. And my heartfelt thanks from the morning onwards, like as a keynote speaker, Professor Murli Krishna sir, Professor, Head of the Department of English, Osmania University, Hyderabad, and as well as guest speaker, Professor Rani Potan ma'am, former Head, Department of English, PG College, Osmania University, Telangana, and Dr. Lita Christie, Senior Scientist, DRDO, Bangalore, and Dr. Anil Premraj sir, Assistant Professor, Senior Grade 1, Department of English, School of Social Sciences and Languages, Vellore Institute of Technology, Vellore. I also extend my heartfelt thanks to Dr. B. Usha, former Dean and HOD of HNS Department, SV Vedic University, Tirupati, and as well as Dr. K. Sunita Reddy, Professor and HOD of SLH Department. Thank you to all the participants.
Thank
Tomorrow
you,
we'll
madam,
meet.
once again.
Thank you, sir. Thanks a lot.
Thank you, Vanessa madam and Sunita madam. Convey my regards to madam also. May I leave, madam?
Thank you. Yeah, yes, sir. Thank you. Thanks a
Thank
lot.
you. Good day to you.
I request all the participants to please fill the feedback form. And tomorrow you can log in with the same Zoom link.
It's same Zoom link. మీటు విప్లవం అన్నపూర్ణ చెప్తాంది అప్పట్లో మమ్మల్ని కూడా వేధించారంట.
Sir, Amarnath sir.
Madam, feedback form we have not received in our group, madam, for afternoon session.
Sir, we have already posted, sir, in the afternoon only.
Posted,
You
madam.
are
Okay,
not in
okay.
the WhatsApp group?
WhatsApp group, madam.
Yes.
Morning we completed, but now afternoon session separate feedback, no, madam.
Yes, sir.
Okay, I'll see, madam. I'll see.
No, not at still I did not yet post it because as the participants are here, so wait, sir. I'm posting it.
Okay, that's what, madam. I have a doubt. I have checked. We have not received, madam.
Ma'am?
Yeah, yes, ma'am. Rani madam.
Yes, ma'am. Tomorrow also same link, ma'am. Zoom link.
Yeah, yes, ma'am.
Okay. For all the days,
Yeah, for all the days.
Okay, ma'am. Thank you so much.
Madam, shall we leave?
Yeah, yes, sir.
Okay, madam.
Those who fill the feedback form, you can leave. And even like we have posted, as we have posted in the WhatsApp group also, you can leave. It's not a question.
Okay, madam. Thank you, madam.
Yeah. And I request all the participants to please join the WhatsApp group because no special intimation or email will be given to you. Whatever the communication is there, we'll go with the WhatsApp. participants who fill the feedback form, they can leave the session.
Madam, honestly, madam,